Hi, welcome to Ansoli YouTube. Today I'm reading Greek legend stories. Okay, then let's start now. By the time they were 9 years old, they were more than 30 feet tall and starting to understand their power. Otis and Ephialtes decided that they wanted to climb Mount Olympus, imprison the Olympians, and take over everything. They were also kind of crushing on a couple of goddesses. Otis had a thing of Artemis. Ephialtes had a long-time crush on Hera, wife of Zeus. Now, normally, this was a big no-no. You don't get to climb up to Mount Olympus and threaten the gods without severe punishment. And you certainly don't get to crush on one of the Olympians, especially Zeus' wife, and live to tell a tale. But of course, the early days were different. They knew they were invulnerable to anything the gods could throw at them, even thunderbolts. And so Otis and Ephialtes started stacking mountains and boulders on top of each other to get to the top of Mount Olympus to challenge the gods. Yes, they literally moved the mountains. Naturally, the gods did not approve of this at all, but unfortunately there wasn't much they could do to stop them. Zeus had been hurtling thunderbolts at them all day with no effect, and Apollo's arrows only bounced off the twins' skin. The giants just laughed and kept climbing higher and higher. The Olympians weren't going to be able to fight their way out of this one. They couldn't attack blindly. They need a strategy. But unfortunately for the Olympians, there was one god on Mount Olympus who wasn't a big fan of strategy. Ares, the Greek god of war. Sure, there's a lot of strategy in warfare, but that's aren't Ares' thing. Athena was the goddess of battle strategy, while Ares was more like the god of fighting and fierceness in battle. Ares wasn't one to back down from a fight, and he had a tendency to respond to even the slightest insults or injury with outrage. So when the Alodi were approaching Mount Olympus, he was furious. He ignored the Olympians' need for a plan and simply attacked them. He let out a battle cry that would make your skin crawl and launched himself at the twins' giants. At first, Ares had them at a disadvantage. The Allies weren't used to attack anyone attacking them up close. Most of the time, it was arrows and spears hurled from a safe distance. Ares fought with all his strength, determined to prove his worth to the fellow Olympians. The two giants staggered back as Ares strung his battle axe again and again. Of course, Ares' blows did not damage. The process was real. Otis and Ephialtes could not be harmed by god or human. We told you you can't kill us while wasting your time, the giant said with a laugh. Ares screamed in frustration and swung harder, but he still couldn't penetrate the skin of the two giants. Otis and Ephialtes snatched Ares up in their hand. The god of war struggled and yelled. The two giants were able to bind him in heavy chains, and using their massive strength, squished his body inside a large jar and threw it down to earth. You two giants better hope I never get out of this jar! Ares yelled on his way down. As expected, Ares' plan had failed miserably. The Olympians were still in danger, especially Artemis and Hera. the objects of the giants' affection. The Olympians needed help. Zeus was out of ideas and almost out of thunderbolts. Hera had shut herself in the chambers. Artemis and Athena were acing and strategizing. Perhaps we cannot hurt the giants themselves, Athena said, but maybe we can slow their climb. Father, use your thunderbolts on their tower. Zeus began to hurl his bloods at the mountain of boulders the Aleuades were building. The giants roared in anger as the rocks fell from beneath their feet. But the giants would not be deterred. They were angry now and more determined than ever to get to the top of Olympus. If Helios began rebuilding the tower as fast as he could, while Otis started hurling boulders and stole at the Olympian in return. Athena used her shield and armor to block most of the attack, but the giant continued to climb. Meanwhile, Apollo and his twin sister Artemis were developed a plan of their own. They realized that no matter how many times they knocked down the tower, the two giants would just find a way to rebuild it. Otis and Hippias were immortal and invincible. The gods could only hope that they would evenly lost interest, but it didn't seem likely since the young giants were fixed on Hera and Artemis. With that in mind, Apollo and Artemis came up a plan and shared it with the others. The gods decided to let the two giants finally climb all the way up to the gates of Olympus. Hera, Euphemus shouted, "Where are you, my darling?" Artemis, "I'm ready to show you my big giant muscles," called Otis. Hera still locked it in her chambers, and Zeus and the other gods encouraged Artemis to join her. Artemis wouldn't hear of it. "Trust me, father," she said, "our plan will work." And with that, Artemis strolled right out into the country and up to the gate where the two towering giants peered down at her. "Why," she said, "you're so tall and so handsome, Otis." The giant suddenly blushed and looked away, embarrassed. Epimetheus, his brother, rolled his eyes and looked to the sky. "Obviously," Artemis said, "you're the smartest and stronger brother." "Not true." Epimetheus roared and swiped at Artemis with his giant hand. He almost knocked her off her feet, but Artemis was quick. The goddess of the hunt dodged the giant's blow and rolled to safety just in time. "Leave her alone," Otis screamed and lunged at his brother. The two giants grappled for a moment and then crashed through the gates of Olympus, wrestling each other on the ground while trading punches and insults in equal measure. Poor Artemis was in the middle of it all. She ducked, jumped, and rolled out of the way just in time and time again as the two brothers fought each other. She had to be visible to both of the brothers. Otis needed to be distracted by her presence, and Epimetheus needs to be enraged. This was the plan she and Apollo had concocted. Get the brothers to fight each other. And it worked for a long while. The giants fought each other for so long that they sometimes forgot what they were even fighting about. But just when it looked like the fighting was at an end, Otis remembered his love for Artemis. Out of nowhere, he swooped the goddess up in one hand. Apollo, watching from the shadows, did not like how this was going. He began to worry for his sister and quickly charged her into a magnificent white deer. The Aleuades both yelped in surprise and tried to grab at the doe, but Artemis was quick, even quicker in this form, and giants was far too lumber and slow to catch her. They decided they need weapons to slow her down. And when Otis and Epimetheus reached for their spears, Artemis saw her chance. As they pulled back to throw their spears, deer jumped between the pair. Following their target, the giants hurled the spears as hard as they could. Artemis leapt into the air and twisted acrobatically. One spear passed below her and another just above. Artemis landed on all 4 feet unharmed. But the odds were not so lucky. Both of them had missed Artemis the deer and instead stuck each other. While it was true that no mortal or god could harm the Allidae, they were not invulnerable to their own attack. The only way for the Allidae to die was if they killed each other. And that is exactly what Artemis made happen. The ground of Olympus shuddered as the 2 giants crashed to the ground, and all of the Olympians let out a cheer. To be continued.